I just lost what was supposed to be my biggest paying film job of the year, and to make matters worse, I had crew flying in on non-refundable plane tickets. But instead of just staying home, we decided to pivot a little bit and pack the car and head out to Eastern Canada for a 7-day filmmaking road trip. So I'm gonna bring you along, and as we go, I'm gonna share some of my top essential accessories to make a trip like this possible. Because believe me, this has not been smooth sailing. On top of losing all that money for not working, my car's broken down 5 times in 4 days. The car situation is obviously deteriorated even further. I spent thousands of dollars on repairs, and I haven't showered since we left. I smell terrible right now. With all that stuff going wrong, this trip could have been a total nightmare, but because we had the right gear, we were able to stick it out, and it was totally worth it. I mean, just look at this place. Okay, this is a little easier to talk, out of the wind a bit more. As you can see, my hair has some incredible volume today. Some of the items that I want to talk about today, these accessories, are not necessarily filmmaking gear, but I'm talking about things that you can bring that are going to make your general quality of life as a filmmaker living out of a car or in a remote environment much, much nicer. But before I get into that stuff, I should probably just take a minute to rewind and show you how we got into this mess in the first place. Bonjour.
Allô.
Ça va?
Oui, juste à raccrocher.
Merci.
Bienvenue.
I wanted to say gracias. Did you hear that? Gracias.
Sticks to get food.
Yeah.
This is ours, but it's pretty close.
Hello. The engine light is on. It came on when we were going up a hill. Okay. Are you open tomorrow?
Yes.
You are? Okay. Let me think about it. Maybe we'll find a place to camp and we'll come and see you in the morning, or maybe we'll just keep going. I'm not sure. But thank you very much.
No problem.
Seemed like such a fun idea. Let's take a road trip, they said. Now we're stranded in Quebec on a Sunday night with no options. So even though the engine is falling apart, the first thing for any good filmmaking road trip that I would recommend gives you peace of mind that at least the battery is never going to die because you left the light on or something. And that is this guy. This is a USB charged jumper. So if your battery ever dies, instead of having to look for jumper cables or ask someone else to help you out, this thing can jump a car from completely flat to running twice on a single charge, and it just operates off USB. It's super handy. I just keep it in the glove box and I pretty much never worry about the battery dying anymore. Okay, so the second piece of gear in any camera road trip that's super important is a way to keep everything powered. Now we're camping our way across Canada, and some of these sites have electrical outlets and some don't, and you never want to be in a situation where you can't shoot because you just don't have any power. So the next things I want to talk about are these large capacity batteries. Compared to the normal USB blocks that can just charge 1 or 2 USB A or C items at a time, these things have full-size power outlets, which means I can charge drones, I can charge camera batteries, pretty much anything. You can recharge a computer. It has a lot of power, and it can do USB and full-size power. So if you're going to do a camera road trip of your own, I would highly recommend getting some sort of power solutions. It's actually quite pretty here.
It's really beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice. Almost makes you wish I wasn't only thinking about my car.
Almost enough to make you forget.
Almost enough to make you forget. Not quite. So Multitool isn't really exclusive to road trips. It's pretty much just a general good thing to have for all filmmaking needs, but on a road trip like this is where they start to really shine, because we can't bring a whole toolbox, you know, and we can actually put this thing to work. You know, right now I'm making kindling for a fire. Always chuck a multi-tool in, takes no space, and just bring it on any filmmaking shoot in general, but especially if you're out in the middle of nowhere on a road trip. This is not at all what we plan to do. The car is definitely in trouble. The check engine light is on. Your best laid plans are going to fall apart. You just have to accept it and try and keep your cool. I'm trying to remind myself of that, but I'm also bracing for the possibility that instead of a 7-day maritime road trip, we might be in this mosquito infested campground on the side of the highway. This is dumb. This is my worst nightmare. No. Get some good footage there, Santi?
To call you back, we need to gather some information. Please don't hang up until we've confirmed your callback request is complete. Goodbye.
Goodbye. The car situation has obviously deteriorated even further. Now we're looking at options to get a tow. The car died, and the fourth mechanic we visited now couldn't tell us why, and said we had to take it into a dealership and that he didn't recommend driving it at all if possible. So we're camping one last time. Then I'm dropping the car off in a dealership, and then we're gonna rent a car and keep going on the road trip and just hope they fix it before these guys have to be back for their flights. Okay, so the next essential accessory for me anyways, this one's slightly on the bougie side, but I think it's worth it. It's been 3 days of constant camping and driving, and I will not lie, I smell terrible right now. I've just been wearing the same cotton t-shirt every day. So my secret for traveling and filmmaking, where sometimes you can only bring a handful of shirts for maybe a 3-week shoot, is these guys, merino wool. This is like special kind of wool from a sheep, I think in New Zealand, if you've never heard of it before. And this stuff is magic because it doesn't stink. So I can wear one of these for like 5 days. I know that probably is gross and triggers some people, but I can probably wear one of these t-shirts for about 5 days before I smell like anything. So that's pretty huge for me anyways, because nobody likes the stinky guy in the van. Definitely a little bit on the expensive side, but I think it's worth it.
What's our time frame? You said
we got a flight out on Saturday.
okay, so
People always ask what Canadian food is. This is it. We finally made it to Nova Scotia. We are in my friend's tiny house. We're 4 days late. We spent pretty much the entire trip so far just in mechanics garages around New Brunswick, so not what we were planning when we set out, but we're just rolling with it. We're having a ton of fun. Now that we're here, it feels like we finally arrived. Also, a really good time to talk about the next thing that is now a travel essential item for me on a filmmaking road trip, because we just got here and we're in a really rural area and there are mosquitoes everywhere inside this house and no one is gonna sleep if we don't do something about it. This might seem like a gimmick, but Richard got this last year when we were shooting a tree planting documentary just to see if it worked. And this thing heats up little pads through some sort of sorcery and creates a 5-meter bubble with almost no bugs at all. If you've ever sat in front of a laptop trying to back up footage while mosquitoes attack you, it is horrifically bad. So you might call me bougie for this, but just remember that I have spent over 2.5 years in cumulative nights in a tent. So I am not some city dude who's never been outside, but this cool little thing probably emits a bunch of chemicals, but it is paradise when you're out in the woods. Other than that, we're gonna take some tours around the area tomorrow, just go look for some beautiful stuff. And really good news, since we're here, I think this is gonna be the last day in a row where I don't shower. So with any luck, tomorrow I'm gonna look semi-presentable, but no promises. Final update, we just got back to Toronto. I know this is jumping all over the place, but we got a call at the very last minute on Friday afternoon that the car was fixed miraculously and that we had to come pick it up right away. So we rushed up to the dealership, grabbed the car, and then did an 18-hour, 1,800-kilometer, which is like 1,200 miles for my American friends, all the way across the country back to Toronto. And yeah, now we're back. It was a really interesting road trip, I guess. We planned to be doing a lot more filmmaking and shooting in scenic places, but that just didn't happen. The takeaway isn't to go buy a bunch of stuff, it's just to go out and actually make stuff. And there's a few things that if you include them in your kit is gonna make your life a lot easier, but the stuff isn't the point. The road trip is the point, and the end result wasn't even the point. We didn't have to make some sort of hardcore documentary, even though that's kind of what we wanted to do in the beginning. Then we pivoted to, let's just go shoot some beautiful locations. That didn't work out either, so we just made the best of it, and in the end, we made something instead of just sitting around, and that's the most important thing of all. So yeah, get out there, make stuff, and if you found those accessories helpful, let me know what accessories you would take. I probably forgot a bunch, and this is not an extensive list, so let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys back here for the next video.
I think it's time for me to put a sunset in there. Yeah, let's get a little adventuresome here.